Hi everyone, my name is Dakota Thorne and I'm a product program manager here with Girl Scouts of Ohio's Heartland. And today I'm going to be talking you through some important things and some essential things you'll need while packing for a backpacking trip. Today we're going to look at what I might bring with me on a 2.5 day backpacking trip. I will start off by saying just remember to always hike your own hike. That means if I talk about something that I bring that maybe you don't think you need, just do your research. Dive in and make sure you're doing your own research based on what I'm saying. Let's dive into my pack and see what I've got. What you see here is an example of what the contents of my pack might be for a 2.5 day, 2-night backpacking trip in late spring. Every item here has been carefully thought out because I need to remind myself that everything I am bringing and want to have, I will be carrying for the duration of my hike. I will also point out that packing takes practice and a lot of trial and error. When I do any packing, I like to break things up into sections, especially for a backpacking trip. The longer the trip, the more sectioned out and detailed my packing list will get. For starters, this one's going to be for about a 2-day backpacking trip, 2.5 days, 2 nights. So I'll talk you through like what I would bring on that type of trip. The first section that we're going to talk about is my sleep system. That's anything having to do with sleeping at night. So I will walk you through kind of what I would bring. I'll start with talking about my sleeping bag. I carry this guy. It's pretty lightweight. I've been really happy with it. It's a Kelty 25-degree sleeping bag. Keeps me pretty warm. I have slept with it in 12-degree weather. Just remember that the temperature rating is not for comfort, it's for survival. So test it out a few times, maybe do some cowboy camping in your backyard if you have one, or do a quick camping overnight just to test out the temperature and make sure you're going to be comfortable. I also highly suggest a sleeping pad. And these can range from inflatables, self-inflatables, or fold-up accordion pads. I started out backpacking not carrying a sleeping pad, and it can be done. And if you are really trying to go lightweight, ultralight backpacking trips, you can go without one. But since I have slept with one, I like having one now. This is mine. He's a little bit bigger. He is a thermarest, inflatable, takes up a little bit more space in the pack, still pretty light, keeps me pretty comfortable at night. Next up, I'll talk about the tent. Behind me is a quarter dome tent from REI. It is a 2-person tent. Even when I'm backpacking by myself, I like to keep it with me. I like to have all the extra room at night, and I can put my pack in there if it's raining. I can spread out, lay out my clothes to dry, anything like that. And then if someone also backpacks with me, there's room for them as well. I don't have the rain fly on it, but I do always carry a rain fly and a footprint, which is the piece that goes underneath your tent. But that's pretty much it for my sleep system, and that's kind of what I use and take on this type of trip. All right, up next I'm going to talk you through what kind of clothing I might bring or take with me on this type of trip. I apologize in advance, the lawnmowers are going. We'll just pretend that those are the sounds of nature for the duration of this video. All right, so clothing. I typically wear long athletic leggings, and I will wear a nice breathable t-shirt. I would avoid any cotton when you're going backpacking. And then as far as extra things that I might bring, because it is late spring and it might get warm, I will bring a pair of shorts that are good for backpacking and hiking around. And so, like again, I said no cotton. Make sure it's fast dry, moisture wicking, any of those types of things. I also bring a tank top. That's also something I can sleep in if it gets too warm. I bring sleep shorts. I bring a long sleeve lightweight shirt. I bring extra socks, a buff. I'll bring my puffy because sometimes in the spring it still does get pretty cold. And of course, any kind of rain gear, that's a rain jacket, rain pants. I also always kind of bring a hat to protect my face from the sun. Also, for those of you with glasses, it's really nice when it starts raining. This is another protection for your glasses to not get raindrops all over them. I will pack all of my clothing into a stuff sack that's water resistant and has some sections in it in case, you know, something were to get wet. I could put it in one section, etc. I also highly recommend you do some research and bring any type of camp sandals. That can be Crocs if you're into Crocs. I like these types of sandals. Give your feet a rest from your boots or your trail runners or whatever shoes you're hiking in. that's kind of what I would bring. As far as undergarments, I would bring some extra undergarments with you because things get wet, things get gross. Just giving yourself an opportunity to change out. Typically for a shorter trip, you want to pack as little as possible. That's kind of what I would do clothing wise for a trip of this length. Next up, we're going to talk food. I do not go backpacking or hiking without having peanut butter. I typically wouldn't carry a big jar like this on a short trip. I would get a couple of those little packets that you can get of like Justin's peanut butter or anything else, or I would divvy this up and actually put it into baggies, because it makes it really nice and easy. It's a great source of calories, protein for you if you're feeling low on calories. Typically for me, you can do those mountain meal dehydrated dinners. I personally don't always care for those. Those are a little heavy for me when I'm backpacking. So I am a big fan of ramen with tuna in it. Just as long as you're, getting some protein, and I'll get my protein from my tuna. And then I do like a ramen packet. I heat it up and then I put the tuna into it. That's my dinner of choice or a lunch of choice. I'm also a huge fan of instant mashed potatoes. There's nothing better at the end of a long day of hiking than some instant mashed potatoes. I also have a tortilla here. Tortillas can be good to put your peanut butter on. I also carry snacks, raisins, crackers, almonds. Think about these things. Think of what things you can eat no matter what. When I first started backpacking, had a hard time forcing myself to eat, even though I needed calories on the trail. So it's a trial and error of like what kind of things you can actually get yourself to eat. For breakfast, I typically just do steel cut oatmeal, little instant packets like so. I also always throw like a Pop-Tart in there if I'm craving something sweet. I do also like to carry sweet tarts. I didn't have any of those to show you here. All right, and then we'll move on and we'll talk about my cookware. All right, talking about like what type of stove I use this little stove right here. It's very light and compact. It's about 15 bucks off of Amazon. It's self-ignite, so I don't have to worry about carrying a lighter. Comes in a little plastic carrying case to keep it nice and safe. I highly recommend something nice and light, especially if you're going on a longer backpacking trip. It saves on weight. I mean, it might be 4 ounces, if that. It's very, very light. You use your fuel just like this, screw the stove onto the top. It's super easy, and I highly recommend it. Will also always carry some kind of tool with me, whether it be just an all-purpose tool that has like maybe like a little pocket knife, things like that, just in case I need that for opening or anything to that nature. I always pack extra potable water. So these are just iodine tablets. I do my water filter typically, but it's nice to just have these just in case something happens with your water filter. I keep things like instant tea, instant coffee. That's all preference. It's all extra. I don't need that. That's something I just want. Keep a little cup that I can do my soup in or my tea in, and a spoon. I also have a bigger spoon that I'll take on like longer trips. For a shorter trip, I try to keep my weight down, so I will just keep that with me. I stuff all of that into my bear bag or my food bag. I try to keep it nice and light. This is where the bulk of my weight goes when I am backpacking. This is like the heaviest part in my pack. So trying to keep that down as much as possible is always great. Okay, now we're going to talk about probably the most important thing you can possibly have with you when you're out on the trail, and that's water. How much do I carry? How do I carry it? Have something to filter it, all of those types of things. So when I go backpacking, I always do a little bit of research. I will research the trails and see how many waterways I pass over. I will also look into the time of year. Typically in spring, water sources are pretty strong and pretty good flowing. But as you look into later summer, you might worry about a creek being dried up, different things like that. So make sure you do your research, and all of these parts, make sure you're doing your research. As for how much water I typically carry, let's say, I mean, it depends on the trail, but if I'm doing a trail that has a lot of water walkways, I typically carry 2 liters with me at all times. I will keep 1 liter in my, like my bladder bag, camelback, whatever you want to call them, that will be in my pack that I have easy access to. So this is like a 1.5 liter, but I'll typically only fill it up to 1 liter. And then I will keep a 2nd liter in an Nalgene on the side of my pack. If I'm going on a longer trip, or if I'm needing to like carry in more water, I'll typically carry 2 Nalgenes. Some people don't like Nalgenes because they're a little bit heavier. I like them because they're virtually indestructible. So I love my Nalgenes, and I will always carry one with me. I will always pack an extra platypus bag in case I'm going to a campsite that doesn't have water and I need to pack extra water for my dinner and breakfast. So that's something that isn't necessary, but I like to have it because it makes me feel confident and comfortable when I'm out in the woods, making sure I have plenty of water. I carry a Sawyer squeeze. It is a type of water filtration system. It's super nice, super easy to use. Just make sure you're cleaning it out. It's about this size. I also carry extra filter bags with me just because it makes it nice and easy when I'm out on the trail. This is a great tool. First started out, I mostly used iodine tablets. Those work just fine, but you find that you can get a lot more of the grit out of your water when you have a filter system versus the iodine tablets. Like I said, try things out, buy both, see which one you like better. That's the only way that you can figure out what you like best and what's going to make you the most comfortable on the trail. Okay, we're going to talk toiletries. You know, it's something that you don't always want to talk about because you're talking about toilet paper and going to the bathroom and those types of things. When you are out on the trail or before you go out on the trail, make sure you're learning about leave no trace policies when it comes to going to the bathroom, and make sure that you are doing your research on what types of things you need to bring to make sure you are leaving no trace. So I always bring a trowel. It's a tiny shovel that you can use to dig your cat holes or dig your holes for using the restroom. I do bring toilet paper and wipes. Those are both things that I like to have when I'm doing that, and also to keep myself clean, whether it's just wiping down my face with a wipe or something like that when I'm feeling really gross on the trail. I also don't go without deodorant. Some people say it's not necessary, you're gonna stink no matter what. It makes me comfortable, so I like the extra weight. I will carry the extra weight to have deodorant with. I carry Body Glide. That's something that helps out with blisters or chafing, anything like that. I carry lots of hand sanitizer. You never know when you're gonna need to do your hands. That's something that is very important when you're on the trail, is just hygiene in general. Toothpaste, toothbrush. Can get hiking specific toothpaste that are like little tablets. You can make your own little tablets by like doing drops on wax paper and freezing them. Those are great items. This one, I've used this toothpaste, I don't know on how many hikes. It lasts a really long time, to be honest. I do carry chapstick. I carry deep off woods, really strong bug spray, keep the ticks away when I'm going on the Appalachian Mountains especially. And I do carry a first aid kit. That's something that I have pared down to my specific needs. So I don't need all of the items that come in a first aid kit. I suggest you do the same. It takes out some of the weight that you don't need. And then of course I have to carry an EpiPen because I have allergies. So if you're someone who does have allergies, make sure that you are ready to protect yourself when you're out on the trail. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so you have heard me talk a lot about all the things that I absolutely have to have. We've touched a little bit upon things that you need versus things that you want, things that you're willing to give up some of your general hiking comfort by carrying extra weight for. We're gonna go into some of the things that are the extras that don't really fit into one category, in my opinion. Some optional things, some things that I think you should carry. And like I said, all of this is kind of all up to you, and I suggest making your own list. All right, I always bring a phone charger. I bring my phone. I always make sure to have my ID and some cash on me in case, you know, I'm somewhere, go through a town and I wanna get a quick drink, whatever. I bring a book. I always try for a paperback because it's lighter. I bring a small journal in case I want to take notes. I have a pen. Something you definitely want to have is any type of trail maps. These are an example of pages out of an Appalachian Trail book that I have laminated myself using packaging tape. If you want, you can get nicer maps, bigger maps. I also download a Gut Hook app that has a map on it. Maps are really important. That's how you know where your water sources are, all of those different things. So obviously make sure you have some maps, make sure they're protected from the elements. I do also bring a lighter with me. I have my headlamp. You can use just a flashlight if you'd like. I bring an extra charger, probably not for a trip this size, but this was already in my gear. This is more for a longer trip so I can recharge my phone. I have a compass that I keep with me, a pen for writing, and of course my bear line. That's for bear bagging when you're in black bear territory or anything like that, to make sure you can get that up. Maybe I'll do a tutorial later on how to do a bear bag. And I keep all of that in a weather locked bag. These are really nice. They're called lock sacks. And then those are kind of my extra items. I also obviously have my rain fly for my pack that keeps my pack protected and safe. And we'll move on and I will show you my pack, and then we'll get geared up and I'll show you how it all looks once it's loaded. Okay, so obviously we're out in the wilderness. We need a way to carry all of this stuff. This is my pack. This is an internal frame pack. It's an Osprey anti-gravity, which is really nice because it keeps some wind on your back still. I have had this pack for 3 years now. I love it dearly. It is a 50 liter, so it has plenty of space for all the things that I need. It has hip pockets, which are really important to me because I like to keep snacks. Currently in my hip pockets, I have extra garbage bags, which is something that I really like to take with me to make sure that I am not leaving anything behind. So I have plenty of space to pack those in my pack. This pack has a great outside pocket where I can keep all my toiletry things, so they're quick, easy access. I clip my camp shoes on the outside, so I have my carabiners. But everything that I need fits right in here, including my tent. I think it's a great pack. I do your research beforehand, get measured, go into a store and actually get measured for it. You're spending a lot of money on a pack typically, so you want to make sure you're getting one that fits you correctly. Like I have said before, I started out totally inexperienced and didn't do any research and got a pack that didn't fit. And let me tell you, there is a huge monumental difference in getting a pack that does fit. Your comfort is going to be great. You're going to be able to enjoy your hike a lot more. The last thing that I'll talk about is an optional item. They're not optional for me because, you know, I'm getting older and I have wonky knees and ankles, but are my trekking poles. These just kind of give me a little extra support when I'm going up or down steep inclines. I have these leaky trekking poles. I love them dearly. They're a great suggestion. You can go to REI and try them out. Not crazy expensive. They're one of the kind of bigger ticket items that you might want to look into for a trip. But if you're backpacking in Ohio, let's say, you're not really going to be going on inclines that really warrant getting those. So just kind of do your research, like I said. All right, so that's kind of everything that I would pack. Like I said, all of these things are, you know, kind of up to you. You have to know what you want to eat. You have to know what you're going to be comfortable wearing. If you're someone that runs really cold, you might need to put a little extra weight towards your comfort and clothing wise. If you're like me and you run warmer, you can probably add a few extra comfort items like deodorant or an extra charger for your phone. That's kind of up to you. If you're someone who likes to hike with music, you might want to pack headphones. That's something that I typically don't pack. But that's kind of it. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see what this all looks like packed up on my back. We've spent some time looking through my pack, and I've talked to you through how I section off my packing list. It helps me stay organized. This is what my pack looks like fully loaded and fully ready to go. You'll see that I carry my poles on my outside, water bottle on my outside, and my camping sandals on my outside, but everything else is inside aside from what I'm wearing, obviously. So make sure as you're moving forward, you're testing things out. I highly suggest when you've decided to go on a backpacking trip, you load up your pack fully like I am right now. Walk around your neighborhood for 15 minutes a day with it fully packed. If you have a treadmill, hop on the treadmill at an incline with it on. Anything to get your body used to carrying that weight. I like to keep my weight between 27 and 28 pounds, fully loaded. That's with water and food included. That's a little on the heavier side. Like I said, I showed you some items that I don't need to bring, a book, a charger, things like that do add up with weight. I have a slightly heavier tent system, so there are things you can do to cut your weight down. Another great way to cut that weight down is sharing the load with someone else. If you're backpacking with buddies or with your troop, you can spread out your tent, different things like that. Just make sure you're practicing and make sure you are trial and error, right? If you need to do a shakedown trip, backpacking your backyard, right? Set up all your gear, see what you actually need. You know, make sure that you're testing everything out before you actually go on your trip. Thank you so much for joining me. Just look in the descriptions to see what steps to what badges you've earned, and also be sure to check out the leave no trace virtual programs we've been offering. Those are a great precursor to backpacking as well. Thank you so much and have a great day.